Hey, Tomas.
Hello.
Hello there. So welcome everyone to this discussion about how exploration and innovation can practically contribute to solving some of the world's global challenges at this point and going forward. I'm Elisabet Lagerstedt, the founder and director of Future Navigators and the author of Better Business, Better Future. With me today, I have an amazing guest who is Tomas Granlund. We're here on Zoom together. And you, Tomas, you are a senior business leader and product leader with 20 years experience in technology, finance, and consumer goods industries. And you happen to be really passionate about new business development and innovation. I'm so happy to have you here. Tomas, you are based in Finland, I've heard. And I not only heard, I know actually. And you've worked for some really, really large global companies with head offices there. And Finland to me is really, really interesting because you've come a fairly far way on this journey towards the future from a global comparison, especially thinking about combining digitalization and a focus on sustainability. So what I would like to do is just ask you a couple of questions and see where we go from there. And why not open up with a few questions or thoughts about innovation? So I'm thinking, what does innovation mean to you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be able to speak to you about a topic that as you said, is very interesting, and I feel quite passionate about. Having seen this in many different companies and industries, different settings and so on, I think it's given some perspective into things, not not necessarily all, but some. I think in a way, innovation in a way it's probably like quite simple then kind of in its essence. So I like to think of it as introduction of something new, if you like simplify it a lot. So it's really about introducing something new, and without innovation there isn't anything new, and without anything new there's no progress. So in order to make progress, you need to innovate. And if a kind of organization, small or big, doesn't if it doesn't innovate, it doesn't make progress, and then in the end it doesn't stay competitive. You can of course look at innovation kind of from many different lenses. It can be small innovations where you are improving a process and making it more efficient, and therefore improving the customer experience. It can be things that you are doing with your current product portfolio, doing some small improvements, adjacencies, or introduction of new products or product lines. Or then it can be big things where you are totally disrupting your own business or moving into a totally new type of business model or something like that. And all of that is important, and it doesn't really matter actually then in the end what you do, as long as you do one of these or all of them in order to make that progress. Yeah. So the progress and staying competitive are the most important things.
Okay, Tomas, what I'm hearing here is that innovation is key to progress, not only on a company level, but I also suspect you mean on a societal level, to bring the society into the future, right? And evolve into the future. So what I'm really curious on is what you've been working a lot on. You've been working with and on innovation hubs, and you've actually started innovation hubs up. And I am truly interested in hearing some of your experience as to that, and why you believe that they are most probably an important key to creating the future that we want. So first of all, can you briefly share what you've learned on the way here?
Yeah, I think in a way the starting point is often so that in a way when I described about the innovation process and the progress that companies may make, we are usually in large organizations very good in innovating around the core, and obviously that's what pays our salaries every day. So it can be a kind of new market entry, or it can be a new product, or it can be improving the website, or it can be improving the supply chain, or it can be all sorts of small ideas that have to do with the current business, and in a way that's something that we can put into use with a very fast pace. However, if a company wants to be a little bit more exploring and look outside of the core, we very often see that there's quite limited time and resources to do it, because everyone is so busy optimizing and innovating around the core. So then it means that we don't have people or dedicated or a dedicated team that could have the time and also the freedom to look outside of the core. So therefore it's actually quite a good idea to set up a separate team or an organization that has the ability to focus on ideas and topics that are a little bit more far out. Usually many of those ideas already exist in the organization. Kind of people have thought about them, but there's just no way, no people, no budget to move them forward. So that's kind of one thing which is important. So the freedom to look outside of the core. The other thing is that when you organize for these kind of teams and innovation hubs, you can be a little bit more efficient. So it's not just one person in this business line and another person in that business line and a third person in some other area that is thinking about these things in separation, but you can really kind of create a center of excellence which makes the resource usage more effective, and then you can pool resources also that think similarly, have the needed skill sets, and therefore you get the get the team to grow, and you are able to attract people also with good capabilities to support it. The third thing is that even though you are separating this activity from the core business, the team that you have will act as a catalyst for change. So they will drive the innovation culture within the whole organization with their work, and having a kind of a visible innovation team or a innovation lab or hub or whatever you want to call it is also giving a signal to all sorts of stakeholders, not only internal but also external, that this organization is serious about looking at future opportunities, that attracts and starts building a ecosystem around it, and also just looking at the core business, there is a good opportunity that activities like this start to build up employer branding and so on, and that makes the whole organization then more interesting for talent that are looking to come and work with the organization.
Yeah. So
those are like there are many more as well, but in a way those are maybe some of the like bigger items that I find quite important.
Yeah. So what I took down here is, first of all, the freedom to look outside of the core, to be more efficient and sort of a center of excellence, and that the team acts as a catalyst for change internally and externally. Yes. And also actually as a bit of a bonus, that you become more attractive to talent.
Yes.
While doing it.
Yeah, well, not only talent, but also external partners, other innovators, people and organizations that are kind of maybe not attached to the core, but in a way could be in the future, that are then seeing the organization as someone that it would be interesting to work with.
Yeah. So I'm really curious because I know you have some great examples on how you and your teams have worked on finding both digital and sustainable solutions for the circular economy, for instance. I'm really keen on hearing how you approach that. And if you could give some examples.
Yeah, well, there are of course many ways, but in a way, maybe a few examples. Well, the first is probably the easiest. It's the copy with pride example where you take a where we take a traditional player like one of where I've been working at, and then you start looking at kind of trends, business models, and so forth outside your own domain. So what are the things that are like really what are the cool things at the moment, and what are the trends shaping end user behavior and so forth. So in a way, I think if you start looking at those things, you could clearly see that there are models like rental, leasing, pay for use, subscription economy, just to name a few. I mean, every one of us has gotten acquainted with the Netflixes and the Spotifys and so of the world, and then you kind of take that model and in a way apply it to your own business and think that, okay, if I'm a manufacturer of consumer goods, how could I kind of utilize the subscription model to my benefit? And then you start like testing out that with consumers. So that's of course one. So look at the trends that are ongoing in the society over the world. Who are the big ones that are shaping consumer behavior, and then look at those business models, see if those business models can be applicable for you as well, because the big ones have already taught the consumers to kind of behave a certain way. So that means that in a way, as a smaller player, you could perhaps also benefit from that model.
It's somehow
the
still
second one,
pride, right?
Sorry?
Somehow steal with pride and adapt to your own context.
Yes.
That might work actually.
That might work.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of examples. For example, the subscription economy is a good example where it has grown to new categories all the time, and you can see consumers almost having like their life on kind of monthly fees nowadays. But then the other thing, and that goes to the consumer side of things, and that's I guess what digitalization also brings with us, that because of that we know more and more about our users. We know their problems. We know what they have bought from us. We know what they are browsing for, and so forth. And when you look at consumer challenges or consumer problems, I think you quite often also arrive at opportunities in the end. And one of the things that we, for example, in my most recent company understood was that people have excessive amounts of tableware and so forth at their homes, and the cabinets are full, and they don't know what to do with them. And one of the services that was created was a service where we actually took the high quality tableware back. So the consumer was able to sell it back to us, and then we sold it onwards in our stores, and that was a a service that got immediate interest and quite good traction from new sorts of users. So
Wow.
so it was collectors or people that wanted to buy secondhand and so forth. And there, of course, again, this is kind of arriving at this type of a service is a combination, of course, of understanding the consumer, but also utilizing the kind of the data that we have about them, and then applying it also with a business model that was out there. So obviously we've seen also a lot of growth in all sorts of vintage second-hand type of businesses over the last 10 years.
Yeah. All right. So that has to go with a long life product, right? If you think about it that way. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing for disposables, probably.
No. And this was, of course, based on the fact that there are you have like long life, good quality products that are sought after also in the aftermarket, and you are able to give them a second or third life, so to say.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Absolutely great. Yeah. So that's the second one. Do you have a third, you think? A third example, possibly?
A third example. This has to do with the long life products again. I think there's obviously again with the capabilities that digitalization brings. If you're able to attract the end user into a subscription or kind of service model where he or she comes to maintain the product which is purchased, then that's obviously a good thing, because you can get a kind of recurring revenue when the product is maintained. It's a little bit like you bring your shoes to the shoemaker, and every time when you leave, then they are fixed again. And when you bring them and when you collect them, there's always a customer interaction. And that's a good thing when you have long life products, because otherwise you would rely on a model where you're just selling the goods, and then you kind of lose contact with the consumer for a long time. But if there is a model where you can refurbish, take care of it, and service it, and you come in every half a year or every year, that's a positive thing. Yeah. You have an interaction with the consumer, and the interaction is, of course, well, not from sustainability point of view, but from a business point of view, a opportunity to sell.
But can that also be combined with the sustainability perspective? Because,
of course,
yeah.
If you have the maintenance or the service element included, so that you bring your knife for sharpening or your frying pan for service or whatever,
you prolong life.
Then you prolong the life, like with the shoes. So every time when you bring in the shoes, then something is done, and they are polished, and then they are good to go again for the next half year or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, what's the role of the business unit, or the ongoing business that we talked about before, the core, for instance, and the role of the innovation hub? And how do you make that distinction clear? And how do you collaborate? What's your learnings about that?
That is one of the trickier questions, obviously, and as I said in the beginning, we need innovation all around. So an organization can't outsource the innovation to a innovation team or an innovation hub, and then the rest of the people can kind of stay non-innovative, if you can use that word. So in my books, the innovation hub, they need to look a little bit more far out. If you look at the horizons of corporate innovation, then the innovation hub would look at the horizon 2, which is the adjacent businesses, or then the horizon 3, which is looking more at disruptive things, and then the core business would be innovating around the core, and the actual hub wouldn't be working too much on that. Obviously, from time to time, there's going to be overlaps. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, but having a little bit of an agenda, so that the innovation team looks at horizons 2 and 3, and then the core looks at horizon 1. I think that at least works for me.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about the collaboration there. How do you actually collaborate then with the business in infusing ideas, because they're sort of taking it over, right?
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the key learnings as well that I've had, that you need to have that discussion on an ongoing basis with the core, and the more you can actually collaborate and cooperate along the way, the better. And it can happen, for example, in such ways that someone from the core business, for example, participates to projects that are run by the innovation hub, or you could have a business owner from the core that is owning a specific project that is run by the innovation hub, and so forth, and having that kind of cooperation is going to help you along the way, because at some point of time, if you come up with a successful concept and you have validated it and have started scaling it, you need to hand over, and the more supporters you have then in the receiving end, if you may use that word, the better. And if you don't have any supporters there, then scaling up something is going to be very difficult. But if you have some people there that feel ownership of what's being developed, then the task becomes much easier. I wouldn't say that it's easy in any case, but it becomes easier.
Yeah. So one thing I've been thinking about is if innovation hubs are actually at risk in the current economic climate. What's your view on that?
Yeah, in some cases that's probably right. If a company is doing kind of badly, then and fighting for its survival, then these kind of activities are very that are quite far looking, are obviously things where it's easy to cut. Because it doesn't pay your salary in the short term. So from that point of view, it's an area where you could kind of quite easily cut, like with marketing, for example. I think there's loads of examples that if you approach bad times, bad economic situation, then you cut the marketing spend. This applies to these kind of innovation activities as well. However, there are lots of studies that are indicating that companies that are investing in innovation, investing in development during the tricky times are usually the ones that are then rebounding the fastest when the economy turns upwards. So in a way, I would be a little bit cautious with kind of cutting all activities, and unless you really have to, because of severe challenges in surviving with your company. Yeah. But definitely things like these are probably on many management teams' agendas. However, I think there's another quote which is it's about kind of you shouldn't miss a good crisis, and we have a lot of things going on in the world at the moment that are going to require quite a lot of innovation, and I'm at least kind of looking that, for example, in the field of energy, there's going to be a lot of innovation happening in the coming years. So there's probably going to be companies that are investing a lot in this area going forward as well.
Yeah, I think it was Einstein, right? He said something about that you can't solve the old problems with the same way of thinking or the old way of thinking. I guess that's the way forward, right?
Yes.
You started saying the definition of innovation is about doing or building something new.
Yes.
Thinking new thoughts, seeing new perspectives, seeing new potential and possibilities in solving new problems, right?
Yes.
So I'm hoping that we will be able to use this now to accelerate the shift towards a better business.
Yeah.
Tomas, we've come to the end of this discussion today, a brief, short, and lovely one. I would like to thank you so much for being here with me. It was so valuable for us all. And well, thank you for listening in. I'm Elisabet Lagerstedt. This is Tomas Granlund, and we say bye-bye and hope to see you both again, or all again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.